you sit down, please turn to your neighbor, say hi, ask them how they are doing. Please also get to know whether they know what they are doing here. Do they know that this is the annual Media Summit 2018, which is going to be a landmark event by the time we are done? Let me just start by recognizing two principal secretaries, Mr. Jerome Ochieng and Mrs. Fatuma Hirsi Mohammed. The Chief of Staff of the President, I think is going to be here with us at some point because he's going to be giving the keynote address. And the academicians here present, the MCK board, the council, looking at various representatives of the embassies, various embassies from, in Nairobi. Of course, I can see Alexander here from the German embassy. And our media, guest of honors, ladies and gentlemen, this is the annual Media Summit 2018. And the aim of the annual Media Summit 2018 is about the Big Fall agenda. We would like to highlight the role of the media in sustainable development, looking at the four agendas by the government. Who knows what these four agendas are? Who can shout one or two agendas under the Big Four? Affordable housing, universal health care. Hey, I'm dealing with serious people. Wow, yeah, great. So basically perusing through the program, perusing through the program, we are going to be discussing most of these agendas in various topics that we have here. We are going to have a discussion in this main hall here, or the main auditorium, and Kilimanjaro 3 outside there is our next workshop room after the lunch hour break, where we are going to have 3 sessions focusing on some of these agendas and various issues affecting or touching on the media. And without further ado, because I know our speakers are going to talk more about this, we would like to start with a word of prayer, and from there we move to the national anthem. And because I see our very honorable reverend here, I would like to give him the mic to give us the prayer. And in that regard, I'm going to ask everybody to stand so that we can have a prayer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bwana MC. Can we all bow our heads and pray? Our God and our Creator and Maker of all things, you are, and you were, you was, and you will be. We thank you this morning for your love and care that you have extended to each one of us. We thank you that, Lord, it has pleased you to get us here with a purpose, that we talk about issues that relate to our daily life, issues that sharpen the lives of Kenyans in this place. And now we pray that, Lord, you will be invited guest and move with us in every aspect of life. We pray that you will guide each and every activity that will take place in this room. We pray that, Lord, your peace will abide in all corners. We pray that your will be done as you taught us to pray all the time. Be with us, move with us, walk with us, guide us, and teach us to do the right things at the right time. As we continue and finish, we will continue to praise you and glorify your name. For this I pray in the name of God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Yeah, let's remain seated. Thank you so much, Reverend Paul Inovo. Reverend Paul is a board member with the Media Council. Therefore, when he's standing here, he's uniting all of us together. Now, moving on to the program, time is 9. Before I forget, for us to do the national anthem. So I have to mix this so that I keep you interested, so that you don't sleep. Thank you. We are going to have something played on video, and then we can sing to that because it's going to be in Kiswahili. You can sing also in your mother tongue if you like. Thank you. Thank you. Kila siku tuwe na shukrani. So I'm going to invite the CEO, Media Council of Kenya, to give the welcome remarks. Mr. David Omoyo, please.
Thank you. The PS ICT and Innovation, Mr. Jerome Chiang. PS Broadcasting, Madam Fatuma Halsi. The First Officer, German Embassy, Mr. Alex Puk. Board members of the Media Council and of the Complaints Commission. The CEOs present here. I can see the CEO of the Kenya Yearbook Editorial Board. Partners and friends from the Media Owners Association, the Editors Guild, the Union of Journalists, and other professional colleagues. Good morning. Morning once more. I know we're gathered here to do one critical activity as part of the series of activities building into the annual Media Summit. And it's a very humbling opportunity for us as the Media Council to host you here today. However, I have to warn you that what we're doing is a rather tricky one, the strategic plan that we're going to see, because it's like launching the strategy for the referee in a game. And for those who have just come back from watching the World Cup, the supporters of Brazil, I was supporting Germany along the way because Alex would offer me a beer every time Germany was playing. Then they lost. I haven't gotten any drink since then. And then I supported several African teams. Eventually, I started supporting the referee and the VAR. It becomes very hard to be a friend of the referee, or rather the referee gets hit twice. He gives a penalty one side, so is the enemy of one side. Then he declares an offside the other way, then he becomes an enemy of this other side. So eventually they say that in a battle, the guy in the middle gets killed by 2 bullets. And that is unfortunately where we find ourselves at the Media Council, trying to protect media from government. And the media said, you guys sound very much like you have become part of government and want to disown you. Then a few times you say, no, you think government has overstayed. They say, you guys, you become activists like NGO. You are coming, you're not respecting that you are funded by public money and all that. So that critical role of independence becomes quite tricky as we move forward. And that is how tricky and hard it was as we moved into defining the critical functions the MCK needs to do to achieve the mandate as spelled out in Article 34B of the Constitution and the MCK Act 2013. But I want to really appreciate that after more than a year of journeying and walking and listening to many people, we have been able to narrow that down to ensuring that there is a level playing field. That is the work of the referee as objective 1, policy and regulatory framework strengthening, enhancing media development, Then the issue is strengthening the mediation capacity, and finally ensuring that our institution has the capacity to develop all the functions so far defined. So we're here today to start the journey of the Media Summit 2018 by launching the strategic plan. I like how they call it in Kiswahili, mkakati mpango, which will guide our way going forward. But of critical importance is that we are just the regulators, we are just the referees. So if you have a referee in the field and there are no players, it will be a challenge. So most of what we set out to do in the strategic plan for the Media Council is ensuring and assisting media development and protecting press freedom and enhancing professionalism. Because it's by doing that, then when the players are in the field, up and down, that then the referee and the mediator in between gets to perform the critical functions. So I want to appreciate and thank you all for joining us here today. And without further ado, I want to invite a representative. I note that we're supposed to have a representative of the Kenya Union of Journalists. If he is not in, I'm therefore informed that the best person to speak after the CEO is the chairman. So that the chair will invite one of our critical partners, the Editors Guild, who are in the room. And after that, then we will proceed with the rest of the program. So, Chair, please welcome. And please don't fire me on the stage.
Thank you, Your Excellencies, the PS, Madam Fatuma Hisi, and Jerome Ochieng, Council members, Complaint Commissioners, MCK Secretariat, members of the press, and all invited guests. Good morning. I feel very honored this morning be part of this historic event when we are launching our 2018-2022 strategic plan. I find it historic because when the history of media development in Kenya, and specifically Media Council, will be written, I'm sure this event will find a prominent space in that history. But my prayer, ladies and gentlemen, is that the historians will find a place in the annex to put our names. We are today launching this strategic plan, which is unique in its nature because it's the first since the enactment of the Media Council Act of 2013. And in this act, in this strategic plan, we have identified 5 areas of focus for our next 5 years. I know the CEO have just highlighted up some of them, but for the sake of those who have just come in and emphasis, may I kindly point them once more. Number 1 of our areas of focus for the next 5 years is we want to address the issues of legal and policy gap identified in the Media Council Act of 2013. In this focus area, we want to address the areas of duplication, and also we want to tighten some areas in terms of registration so that to make our work much more effective in discharging our mandate and functions. Number 2, in the next 5 years, we intend to address the issue of media development and regulation. And this, we shall be focusing on training of journalists, we shall be focusing on curriculum development, we shall be focusing on accreditation, as well as inspection of colleges offering media-related studies in the country. Number 3 of our areas of focus, we want to deal with issues of media freedom. You are aware, media freedom is enshrined in our Constitution. But I'm sure, as you are aware, what happens to our journalists during the campaign periods. We can't guarantee their safety and protection. So this is an area we'll work on in the next 5 years. Number 4, we intend to invest in media mediation and dispute resolution. And I want to note, within the council, we have an independent conference commission which mandate is media disputes and resolution. Once we build capacity in this area, I'm sure they'll be able to discharge their duties much more effectively. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, we intend to enhance Media Council institutional capacity and image such that Media Council presence will be felt both at national and in county levels, both in big and small towns in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, the most unique feature of this plan which we are launching today is that we have a strategy in resource mobilization, which many strategic plans miss out. I want to note, while implementing this plan, we shall be walking a journey guided by our vision, a professional, free, and independent media accountable to the public. And in this regard, ladies and gentlemen, our mission remains safeguard media freedom, enhance professionalism through setting media standards and ensuring compliance. Our objectives in this plan is divided into immediate, mid, and long term, but of significance to us and the council members is we want to develop a comprehensive media policy which will guide in media development and regulation in this country. Once we achieve this, we will have positioned Media Council as the primary regulator of media-related issues in the country. I want to repeat, we shall position Media Council as the primary regulator of media in this country. This is very interesting and very exciting to the council members and the entire MCK. I'm inviting you, ladies and gentlemen, to watch this space going forward. This strategic plan is a product of extensive open deliberations, discussions, engagement within the council, the conference commission, and our stakeholders. I want to assure you that your input, insights, feedback, and even your thoughts have been well captured in this plan. Before I invite the next speaker, who is the Editors Guild, I want to acknowledge the unwavering commitment of the council members. Kindly stand up, council members. Take your seat. The complaint commissioners, kindly stand, the complaint commissioners. Thank you. The MCK Secretariat, kindly stand, the MCK Secretariat. Thank you. I want to acknowledge these great men and women for their unwavering commitment in developing, guiding, crafting, and adopting this strategic plan. But I also want to commend the consultant for ensuring successful completion of this exercise in time. We owe gratitude to our partners, friends, and stakeholders for their precious contribution, and we look forward to continued support and mutual engagement throughout the implementation period. Kindly, I request you to turn to the person seated to your left and to your right. Kindly shake their hands and remind them that you are a stakeholder. Thank you very much. Finally, as the chairman, I'm optimistic that our endeavor to attain professionalism in the media industry and to safeguard media freedoms, including safety and security of our journalists, will be realized through the successful implementation of this plan. Asante sana. May I now invite the chairperson of the Editors Guild to give us her address.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am not the chairperson of the Kenya Editors Guild. I stand here to represent our chairman, Mr. Churchill Otieno, who is engaged elsewhere. My name is Christine Nguku. I am the secretary of the Kenya Editors Guild. I apologize for walking in when you had already started. There's a bit of confusion because the cabinet secretaries have a meeting upstairs, so I found myself sitting in the wrong place, only to realize I needed to come down instead. The Principal Secretary, ICT, Mr. Jerome Ochieng. The Principal Secretary, State Department of Broadcasting and Telecommunication, Mrs. Fatuma Hirsi. First Officer, Alex Puke of the German Embassy. The CEO, Media Council of Kenya. All protocols observed. It gives me great pleasure to address you at this first Media Summit 2018 under the theme Media and the Big Four Agenda. At a glance, the Big Four Agenda, food security, affordable housing, manufacturing, and affordable healthcare for all, touches the deep needs of Kenyans. Kenyans have struggled with healthcare and food security since independence. And for many, affordable and even proper housing has been a dream all their lives. The expectations are high, and perhaps with the Big Four Agenda, some of these challenges and dreams might be met. But as we engage in the Big Four Agenda, we must always keep in mind the role the media plays in advancing development. The media is placed in a unique position where it mingles in the highest offices with their occupants, as well as the society at all its levels. They can have conversation with the decision makers, the movers and shakers of policy, and also have conversation with the underprivileged, the marginalized, as well as ordinary citizens. The Big Four Agenda presents great opportunity for life-transforming actions for the Kenyan society. And you can trust the media to be on hand to document these transformations. Key to the Big Four Agenda is access to information and information dissemination. The media's daily task is pegged on access to information. On the Big Four Agenda, we as the media will be looking to see what policies are being implemented, what funds are allocated, and how they are spent, what changes are taking place in society, and what impact is the agenda having on the lives of Kenyans. We shall carry the voices of Kenyans as they engage with the Big Four Agenda. We shall carry the voices of policymakers as they implement the agenda. But most important, we shall provide the platform for discussion and debate on the Big Four Agenda. Debate seeking to streamline and meet the felt needs of Kenyans. We shall also seek to hold leaders to account on the tasks and resources accorded to them to implement the agenda. Good governance will be key in achieving the Big Four Agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, but for just a moment, let us clarify what, in my view, is the roles of different parties in the subject of governance. For citizens, the main role of citizens in our democracy is to participate, examine the options presented, and make a, hopefully, informed choice with their votes. After that, their role quickly shifts into holding the government of the day accountable. The prize citizens should keep their eye on is keeping the current government on its toes. Accountability usually involves investigation and using the legal framework to exact justice from those who have abused office. The main responsibility for getting this accountability does not lie on the citizens. Rather, it lies with the government of the day as well as the media to bring wrongdoers to book within the ambits of the law. If they both fail to do this, that is failure to serve citizens who have entrusted the government of the day and the media to do the task of holding leaders accountable. The media fraternity in Kenya is in a state of shock today as we see events unfolding at the National Assembly with regard to threats and letters of invitation to journalists to appear before the Powers and Privileges Committee. The media plays the role of watchdog on behalf of citizens. It is the media that seeks to gather information, package it, and disseminate it to citizens, especially for public interest. Journalists in the country and the world over wake up every day to find information and document the goings-on in society, both good and bad. Naturally, those found doing bad will never be happy to be exposed. In our current case, Dina Ondari and Anthony Mwangi, both seasoned journalists at MediaMax Network Limited Group's People Daily, have a nose for news and have dared to delve into governance and accountability in their investigative piece. Journalists are governed by the code of conduct, and they conduct their business within the conduct. In this regard, every person in a position of authority or leadership must be ready to be scrutinized and to be held accountable for their actions. The media have a legitimate right to criticize any institution, including Parliament, and even the presidency. Journalists are messengers. Journalists give a voice to citizens. Journalists look out for the interests of citizens. Journalists document and disseminate their observations and reflections of society. The Constitution of Kenya, in Chapter 33 and 34, secures freedom of expression and freedom of the media. The media fraternity do not think there are any exceptions in terms of where journalists can find their stories. There is no exception in terms of who journalists can investigate, as long as they do their job within the confines of the practice of professional journalism ethics. We read mischief and perhaps lack of respect for the media in the so-called invitation to the Powers and Privileges Committee. But further, we are appalled by personal threats to Dina, a woman journalist of repute. In this regard, the minimum the media fraternity expects is the respect of journalists and journalism as a professional. The product of their work may not be everyone's cup of tea, but truth must be said. Truth must be published, and where fault is found, then it must be dealt with. There are structures in place where grievances can be addressed. The Media Council of Kenya has a well-constituted complaints commission which has the capacity to address issues raised against the media. It is a structure that has been used in the past by former First Lady Lucy Kibaki and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, and there has been progress and amicable resolution in such cases. We hope the aggrieved parties will consider the Complaints Commission as an avenue they can explore to resolve the matter. The Complaints Commission is open to all citizens of this country without exception, and fair arbitration can be achieved through the process. The Speaker of the National Assembly is welcome to the Complaints Commission too. Corruption is a reality in our country, and we are convinced that as the media, we must expose it wherever and whenever it appears. We are committed to this as the media. That will be our part in uprooting corruption in Kenya. I thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Can we have a bigger round of applause, please? Can we have another one for the three speakers who have just spoken? So we are going to do a big one, just one like this, like lightning, then we give it to them. Let's go, 1, 2, 3. Yo, thank you so much. Before we continue, and we would like to invite the chair of the Complaints Commission to also say something. I think the Complaints Commission has been mentioned by Christine here, and is going to be mentioned as we continue with this summit. And therefore, it becomes then important that we have the chair speaking on that behalf. And I'm going to ask him, once he's done with his remarks, to invite our guest, Mr. Jerome Ochieng, to come and give his address, who will also invite the PS Fatuma Hirsi Mohammed to also finally launch the Media Summit 2018. And without further ado, please take the mic, please, sir.
Thank you very much. Madam PS, State Department of Broadcasting and Telecommunication, PS, ICT and Innovation, Chairman of the Media Council, and the council members, members of the commission, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Well, I was not meant to speak according to the program, but since I've been called here to say something, I think I'll just do that. We, in the Complaints Commission, I think have been given a free, very positive publicity by the Kenya Union of Journalists. And I want to say that we are open for business. For some of us who have been in this industry, I'm sure probably most of us don't know that the Complaints Commission exists. Sometimes we even get a feeling that even the government itself has forgotten that the Complaints Commission is not there. And at some point, I remember we took up this matter with the with the minister, and there was an issue between the government and the media. When you look at the Media Council Act, it has established two institutions. That is the media, the council, the MCK, and the Complaints Commission. And we in the Complaints Commission, our mandate, as has been rightly put by the chairman of the council, of the council, is to mediate or adjudicate disputes. And these disputes are between the government and the media. They may be between the public and the media. They can also be intra-media. So when we hear that there are problems between the government, or for this matter, parliament and the media, we expect that complaints will be brought before us so that we can adjudicate. We don't go looking for these cases, but we expect that since the law is there and the commission is fully constituted, that parties will be able to know where to go. And particularly, Parliament, which made this law, should be aware that there is this commission that is supposed to be adjudicating these issues. I don't want to say a lot of things because most of the things that we intend to do have been said by the chair of the council. And going forward, I think you are going to hear a lot about this commission. It has been, we have been a bit quiet. I guess that is because there has been not much publicity about the commission. But I'm sure after the launch of this strategic plan, we are going to see us all over, not only in Nairobi, but we also intend to go to far-flung places where we have not been, our services have not been, enjoyed. As a national state organ, it is our responsibility to roll out our services. And we also, we are alive to the fact that the media is not restricted to Nairobi only. We are all over the country. A journalist who has been wronged, or a member of the public who has an issue with a journalist, the government, which is probably a government official who is based in Mandera, for instance, or Lamu, they don't have to travel to Nairobi to come and enjoy our services. So I'm sure that this strategic plan that is about to be launched is going to really assist us in doing our work and executing our mandate. I will not say it, I'll stop here. We in the dispute resolution arm of the MCK are not known to speak much. We like keeping a straight face so that we look serious, and when you look at us, you can think that we are impartial. But we do talk among ourselves whenever cases are brought, and we deliberate them. But we don't say, we are not known for speaking a lot. We have people who speak for us, and I think that has been done by the union and the chair of the council. So I'll stop here. And since I've been given the responsibility to invite the PS, I will go straight and invite the PS, Mr. Jerome Ocheng, to come and give us his opening remarks. Bwana PS, karibu.
Morning, everyone. You can clearly see I'm not Jerome, but as the host, PS, Broadcasting and Telecom fall under my mandate. I would like now to request my colleague Jerome Ocheng to come and say jambo to you guys.
Thanks, PS. To the PS Broadcasting, Madam Fatma, to the first officer from the German Embassy, Alex Puke, council members present, CEOs, all guests, all protocols observed, guests present, good morning. Yeah, it is indeed a great honor to be here today, to actually be part and parcel of this great event, that is the launch of the strategic plan for the Media Council of Kenya. I decided to accompany my colleague because in our ministry we have two state departments, the State Department of ICT and Innovation, where I'm the PS, and the State Department of Broadcasting, where Madam Fatima is the PS. So we work together. So in that spirit of unity and collaboration, I said we will come together to this great event and participate. So mine was to do a very simple task, to say jambo to the community present today, and also just say a few words and invite my colleague who is going to give the keynote address. I'm just going to talk about two things. One is that the Media Council has taken a bold step in coming up with a strategic plan. Like you're all aware of the saying that goes, failing to plan is planning to fail. So they have decided not to plan to fail by doing their strategic plan, which is actually going to give them a clear roadmap in terms of the activities they intend to do in the next 5 years. The beautiful aspect, having gone through the plan just quickly, perused through the plan, I identify some of the things that they have identified within their plan is elements of resource mobilization, which is basically a key component in any activity that you intend to do, because financing is normally a very important part. And having come from my financing background, for those who are not aware, I've worked in the Treasury for more than 21 years now, before joining the Ministry of Information and Communication. you realize financial aspects of every activities are normally very important. So it's very important that as you even have this grand plan, the question is, how are you going to resource it? So I've gone through the plan and actually seen some of the resource mobilization initiatives that they've put in place, which is a very good aspect of the plan. Mine is to promise that working together with my colleague, PS, we are committed to give full support to the Media Council, to the Council, and even all the stakeholders involved in this particular endeavor to ensure that we all succeed. So with those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to invite my colleague, Madam Fatma Hirsi, to do the opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Morning again. PS, ICT and Innovation, Mr. Jerome Ochieng, the Chair of Media Council of Kenya, Dr. Julius Kinyeki, Mr. David Omoyo, CEO, Media Council of Kenya, Mr. Karaoke, the Chair of the Media Complaints Commission, representative of the Editors Guild, Christine Goku, senior government officials present, representative of the German Embassy, Mr. Alex Buch, members of the Fourth Estate, ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. I'm pleased to join you at this annual media summit, which I am told is the first one, whose main focus is on the media and His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda. I'm also pleased to note that the 2018-2023 strategic plan for the Media Council of Kenya will be launched at this summit. Having worked in the media before, I feel at home amongst this great gathering and can also attest that my experience in the media has contributed immensely to my career in the public service. I was a complaints commissioner, for those who may not know, and I actually sat in the panel that listened to His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta's case, which he won. I'm informed that the summit has lined up a number of events, including trainings for journalists, which happened yesterday, the media debates such as this one, and conference, with the culmination being the 7th Annual Journalism Excellence Awards that recognizes the journalists who have excelled in their work. Ladies and gentlemen, Articles 34 and 35 of our Constitution gives the media special and extensive protection in order to enjoy freedom and independence. The Constitution states that the state shall not A, exercise control over or interfere with any person engaged in broadcasting, the production or circulation of any publication, or the dissemination of information by any medium. B, penalize any person for any opinion or view or the content of any broadcast, publication, and dissemination. I want to affirm the government's commitment to protecting this freedom as it recognizes the critical role of the media in steering the country's socio-political and economic development. We count on the media as a strong partner in educating and informing the public on topical issues and call for their support. The government also fully appreciates the value of having a vibrant and media industry and the economy in general. Kenya Vision 2030 identifies access to information as a key enabler towards attaining wealth creation, social welfare, and international competitiveness. Further, it identifies information technology, and you can see why my colleague P.S. Jerome is here with us, as one of the key facilitators to deliver the 10% annual economic growth rate envisaged under the economic pillar. To achieve this transformation, it is important for the media to be innovative, focused, independent, and accountable. The Access to Information Act 2016 is intended to actualize the provisions of Article 35 of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution of Kenya. Among other things, the Act obliges public institutions such as the Media Council of Kenya to proactively disclose information to the public. While the role of government is to provide an enabling policy and legislative environment to grow the media sector, we also recognize that there is need for media development to be integrated within our overall development agenda, currently the Big Four agenda. Under the agenda, the government plans to create 1.3 million manufacturing jobs and achieve 100% health coverage for every Kenyan by 2022. Additionally, 500,000 affordable houses will be constructed and technology will be deployed to expand food production and enhance the whole value chain from farm to produce to market. These ambitious targets cannot be achieved without support from the media to communicate how the Big Four agenda will impact citizens, corporates, and other partners both locally and internationally. I encourage the media to support the government by provoking debates aimed at building consensus so that citizens can appreciate the agenda's full benefits and impacts in their day-to-day lives. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to talk briefly on the launch of the Media Council's strategic plan. This strategic plan details the immediate, mid, and long-term objectives of the Media Council of Kenya between this year and between 2019 and 2024, because this is already halfway, within the context of the Council's functions as determined in the Media Council Act 2013. At its core is the development of a comprehensive media policy that details media regulation and development in Kenya, positioning the MCK as the regulator for the industry in the country. And I think the chairman really emphasized on that aspect of the regulation. I'm informed that the strategic plan is a product of extensive open discussions within the council, the Complaints Commission, and the stakeholders, whose valuable and insightful feedback has been aptly incorporated. This plan will provide a roadmap towards improved institutional effectiveness and efficiency in Kenya's fast-paced media environment. I wish to reaffirm the ministry's commitment to supporting the MCK in implementation of the plan. And I'm happy to note that the plan highlights the current global, regional, and national challenges that face Kenya's media sector, including the freedom of speech, low levels of media development, slow economic growth, terrorism, insecurity, and the unpredictable weather patterns. Additionally, the blueprint touches regional political instability and conflicts, inadequate national cohesiveness, transition to the devolved system of government, gender gaps, expanding wage bill, and high levels of youth unemployment. The plan also provides highlights of the second medium-term plan of Kenya Vision 2030 and the National Big Four agenda, including priorities in other enablers, economic, social, and political pillars. Ladies and gentlemen, looking at the history of media in Kenya, we appreciate the big role it has played in the growth of democracy, rule of law, and good governance. The media has had a patriotic objective, such as the prerogative to report on the freedom of the Kenyan spirit, the promotion of justice, and the uplifting of the national aspiration to which our national emblems remind us. As you may be aware, currently there are 60 TV stations and more than 179 FM stations licensed in Kenya, and numerous other newspapers and magazines that are not registered. This demonstrates the vibrancy of our media that is almost second to none in sub-Saharan Africa. You'll agree with me that media wields immense power and influence that cannot be taken for granted. In exercise of this power, there are and should be safeguards within which it acts and operates. It is the duty of the media to exercise responsible journalism in the process of providing information to the public. The media is a corporate citizen with duties and obligations similar to those of an ordinary citizen, and perhaps much more. Salient among those is to represent issues and facts in a manner that creates positive perception about the state of affairs of our country. Media should not be used as a tool to encourage tribalism and polarize the society. Instead, it should be used to celebrate our rich and vibrant cultural diversity and encourage harmonious coexistence. It is important for the media to give hope and confidence to businesses and ordinary citizens working hard to make a difference in our society. This is not to say that the media should turn a blind eye on bad governance. Speaking truth to power and holding those in authority accountable is a divine calling of the Fourth Estate. Kenyans expect the media to help them promote transparency and good governance to spur development. Questions on professionalism and adherence to the Code of Conduct. Some of our media stories are deficient of facts, are biased, and lack objectivity. Cases of defamation against the media are on the increase and gives a lot of work to the Complaints Commission, and this is a concern to the government. I urge the Complaints Commission to really publicize their role more. I know there was a time that they did some publicity, but you need to do that again so that the parliament stops calling the media to parliament and instead sends their complaints to the Complaints Commission. And I believe that the Media Council has already advised parliament on the same. As I conclude, I call on the council to exercise its watchdog role judiciously to safeguard the rights and privileges of both the practitioners and the citizens. This puts council in the unenviable position of playing arbiter in oftentimes delicate situations that demand wisdom and tact in order to balance competing interests. And I believe Mr. Omoyo referred to that when he started the discussion. With those remarks, it is now my pleasure to declare the annual media summit officially opened. And I think there's some ceremony for the launch of the strategic plan. So I'll leave that to you, but congratulations on the media, the strategic plan, and we will definitely support you in making sure that it's implemented to the full. Thank you very much, and good morning.
Yeah, you heard that. We are going to get support, aren't we? And we're looking forward to that. So we are going to give our guests a bigger, better round of applause. And this is how we're going to do. We're going to stand up. I'm going to ask you to stand up. And who remembers the Nyayo? Round of applause. That's how we're going to do it. So, and when I say 1, 2, 3, it's 1, 2, 3. See, you clap 3 times. When I say funga is 3, when I say fungua is 1, not 3. Are we agreed? Yes, fungua is 1, funga is 3. Sawa? Yeah, so let's go. 1, 2, 3. Asanteni, our guests, for giving us Otuba, for being here today. We love you. We thank you. And we are happy to be here. Funga. Fungua. Thank you. Somebody added something. We are going to look for you. I'll be looking for you after this. So before we do that, we are going to play a short video clip, which is going to give you a highlight of what the contents of the, the Media Council Strategic Plan 2018 to 2023. Yeah, thank you so much.
And officially,
The Mkakati Mpango.
Makofi.